Welcome back to AutoTechNick, and today we have this beautiful 2009 Ferrari F430 in the shop, and we're going to be addressing one of Ferrari's biggest flaws. Before we jump into what we're going to be doing to this 2009 F430, I wanted to give you guys a glimpse of this car, because in my eyes, this is just not a regular or standard F430. This one's actually pretty special. I say that because, for one, this car is a 2009 model year car. It was built in the last months of production of 430s, and there's really not a lot of 2009 430s that were ever built because Ferrari really dedicated 2009 to the 16M and the Scuderia. So a standard 430 that's a 2009 model year, it's already a rare car at that point. However, this particular car is a gated manual 430. This car has not been converted. This is a factory stick shift F430. If we take into account that this car is a 2009, which makes it rare, and that it is at the very end of production, a factory gated car, there could be a strong argument that this could be the last stick shift 430 that ever rolled off the production line. It would be pretty cool if there was a way to find that out, but it is a outstanding car. Grigio Silverstone on the outside, and we have the nice tan interior with the Daytona seats and with Alcantara inserts in the Daytona seats, which is again a pretty rare option, not that common. We have nice contrasting stitching, and this car is just gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful car, well appointed. Obviously it's a 2008 and up, so we got carbon ceramics from the factory, silver calipers. It is a great example of a 430. Now this car has only 7,000 miles, so it is in pristine condition. I mean, they don't get any cleaner than this. This car is immaculate. So clearly we can see this is a very beautiful F430. We know it's very rare with it being a factory gated car and so late in production. Not to mention the low mileage, this car is exceptionally clean. And really, it doesn't need much at all except one major thing addressed. I said it at the beginning of the video, we have to deal with one of Ferrari's biggest problems that they've had, really on a 30-year run of all of their production cars, and that's the sticky buttons. Now what I'm referring to as the sticky buttons is the soft touch finish that Ferrari used on all the interior plastic, and they really started using this finish all the way back with the 348 and pretty much stopped using it around the SF90 era, so that's pretty much a 30-year run. And it's wild to me that this soft touch finish, it degrades, and it causes so much customer grief and headache, and Ferrari has never even acknowledged it or really addressed it. They just let it be. And that is a very large span of cars that it is a matter of just time. It's a guaranteed that a car in that era is going to get sticky buttons, and they need to be addressed. There is no way around it. It's, like I said, it's wild to me because I always have to see the customer facing side of this, where the customers just don't understand why, and they don't understand why Ferrari doesn't do anything about it. I don't have any answers. I don't know why Ferrari uses this finish. I don't know why they refuse to acknowledge the problem and why they didn't do anything to correct the problem. That's out of my hands. I don't have that knowledge or information, but that's what they did do. I will say that frequently, if I was ordering a replacement part, say for example, if I had a bad fuel door switch right here on this 430, when I was working at the dealership, I would order that switch and it would come from Ferrari sticky. Now, that switch probably could have sit on the inventory shelf for quite a while, but it would come sticky, and then we would even, as a dealer, would contact Ferrari and say, hey, this switch is sticky, give us a good one, and they would do nothing about it. They would just say, basically deal with it. And then we'd have to take the switch out, send it to get the sticky refinished by an aftermarket vendor, and then we could put it in the car. It's a wild situation. It causes a lot of grief for customers. I mean, there is businesses set up and dedicated to refinishing these sticky buttons, which is wild that Ferrari just ignored this problem. And it's such a big problem that businesses have been set up and established to address it. I would be embarrassed if I was Ferrari. So I'm gonna drop you guys in. Hopefully you can see right here on the driver's door pull. Obviously you're not gonna see that it's sticky on camera, but you can see how it's starting to get shiny and it doesn't have a nice soft matte uniform finish. So as this stuff breaks down, you can see that as I press it, it kind of leaves a fingerprint and an indentation. And as it gets really, really bad, it gets slimy and will leave black goo on you. And it just looks really terrible. This car is in the early stages. It's not too terrible. Over here on our hazard switch, that one's a good example of how bad it is. And if I push my finger on it, you can see that it's got the hazards on. But you can see my fingerprint right smack on it, and my finger is sticky. We need to get all of this stuff removed. So we're going to be doing the driver's door pull here. So we have this door pull bucket, we have this door handle, this lever, all of that needs to come out and get refinished. We're going to be doing the mirror triangle up here. We have the defrost vents here, our 5 center dash vents, the 3 in the center, the passenger side. There's just this one vent, the one on the other side. The dash vents up on the front, fortunately for this car, they are a factory hard plastic finish, so we don't have to worry about that. In order to address those vents, if you are going to be replacing them, a lot of times they lift and buckle off the dash, and on certain models of Ferraris, they do have the soft touch finish. They are riveted on basically like a star clip on the back side. You have to remove the dash to get to them. You cannot get those in and out with the dash in the car unless you break the tabs off and adhere them with double-sided tape or a different method, which is not my MO. If I have to deal with those vents, dash is coming out. But back on this car, we're going to be doing the upper and lower steering column trim. We have our instrument panel bezel here and face that will need to get addressed. All the switches here, our mode switch here, which you could see, this tab that actually holds it in is broken. Also, our other tab over here is deformed. So I'm gonna have to see if I can reshape that before I send it out. And I was able to fish around in the dash back here, and I do have this piece that broke off. So I'm gonna have to spend some time doctoring that up so that way I can get this functional again, because they're not really available. And if I do get one, just like I mentioned, it's gonna be just as old, just as brittle, potentially broken. So we're gonna go through the effort to get that saved for the customer. We're gonna have to come in here, our mirror switch, park light switch, hazard switch, and our glove box cubby for our rear cubby back there. This switch needs to come out, our convertible top switch needs to come out, and this trim around it. In the center stack, we have our radio dials. They need to come out and get refinished. We have this Ferrari badge right here. That is sticky, needs to get refinished. Our window switches, bezels, climate control right here. These faces, those are sticky. These buttons, glove box door. Passenger door is a little bit different on the driver's than it is on the driver's side. You can see we have a door pull and a handle. There's not one on the driver's side. So we have the same things plus some on the passenger side. We'll have to pull that handle off. We have that bezel up on top. All of that stuff is sticky. Get that taken care of. Dome light housing, we'll get that addressed. And also our overlay here for our Manatino, that's sticky as well. This, we're gonna have to remove this, and we're going to be replacing it with a aftermarket piece from stickyrx, where they've basically re-engineered this. It looks completely factory. We'll take our Manatino knob off, we'll take this old piece off and install the stickyrx piece to get this back factory fresh. So it's a fair amount of pieces in the interior of the 430 that we need to get off so we can get these sent out and refinished. Now, out of all the Ferrari models, I'd say the 430 has it pretty easy, where disassembly is not too bad compared to some of the other cars to get all these items out. It's pretty straightforward. So my goal today is to walk you guys through the steps to just popping these pieces out, and then we're going to send them off, get them refinished. Once they come back, we're just going to put them back in the car, and I'll give you guys a little bit of an overview so you can see the finished product once we're all finished. So pretty quick, down and dirty, but we got to get to it, start getting this interior out so I can get it in the mail. All right, so we're just going to get started over here on the driver's door with our door handle and door bucket. Now, if we look on the inside, there's a small piece of leather that's down in there. We're going to need to get that removed in order to remove this bucket, because there is a screw underneath of it. And if we lift our door handle up, lighting's not great, but there is a Phillips screw down at the back there that we're going to have to release this door handle. Once we get that stuff loose, we can work to get everything else detached. We're going to have the cable hooked here for the door handle. We're also probably going to have some wiring for our micro switches. So we're going to have to work to just get those 2 screws out and then get this out. Now, to get this leather out, I try not, obviously, to damage the leather, and we don't have a good angle to really pry and get under it. So I'm going to try to work a 90-degree pick under the leather and just lift it up a little bit. The tools I have here in my arsenal is just my pocket screwdriver, a 90-degree pick. You really got to be careful with these. You don't want to poke or puncture the leather. Now, this right here is actually my go-to for all my interior work. I use these tools religiously. I order them in bulk. It is a windshield trim removal tool. It's from CR Lawrence. You can see the number. It is CRL216. I like these because they're very flexible. A lot of the trim tools that you buy from other people, in my opinion, are far too brittle, and they snap and break. They can still mar up the trim. You can see that this has a bunch of marks and dents on it from the years of use. So it's soft enough, it doesn't damage the plastic. I can pry on it, it has give, that's the key. And these little wedges work great. Although for this application, I don't think it's gonna work that great to get our leather out of there, but I have this on hand because I do use this frequently. All right, so we're just gonna take our hook tool. I have a bit of a gap, and I was able to cleanly get it under our leather. Then we'll use our interior tool. And there's just some butyl tape that's holding this leather in at the bottom. So just slow, gentle pressure. Get it popped out. So you can see our butyl tape right there. And that's all it is holding this piece in. So I was able to get under there, get my hook under it and lift it up. It's a pretty flexible piece of plastic. The key is we don't want to harm the leather. Now with that out, you can see our Phillips head screw right there. So we're going to get that one removed and the screw removed underneath our door handle. All right, so we got everything removed. You can see that the handle is pretty well loose. This, I'll probably need both hands to get this worked out, to get this piece worked out. And you can see we have our connections on the door handle we need to get done. So I'm gonna have to set the camera down so I can try to work this bezel out from the handle and just have the handle in there, and it'll give us a better view of what's going on. All right, there you go. Bezel's out, and you guys can see that ugly, ugly, sticky finish. It's just gross. Very annoying on a car like this. So that's out. And now we have to deal with our handle. So we have 2 micro switches with wiring, and then we have our cable that slides through right there. But we'll have more working space if we remove this door pull right there. So we can actually pull on the back side. I'm pulling towards me, popped up, and work it out. So you can see there's a tab there in the forward, and this is the rear tab that we lift up. So lift up, slide back, and now we have room, and we can work our hand in here and hopefully get to the connectors for the micro switch. And if we need to, we can disconnect our cable here from this bracket to get it loose from the handle. But you gotta be cautious, because if you do that, you might end up messing up your adjustment here. So if you're gonna loosen that up, I would take it off this forward nut, leave the rear nut in the exact position, spin that forward nut off this shaft here so it's free on the cable. And there's a split in that bracket. You could slide this metal sleeve out, and the cable will slide through there, and you'll have a lot more working space. So it's really kind of choose your own adventure how you want to do that. But I'm gonna, again, set the camera down so I can use both hands to get everything disconnected and get our handle out. All right, there we go. We have it off, and you can see how this stuff's so sticky that when I was working all the stuff off, that it just kind of smeared the existing finish right there. And that's just a good example of how it's deteriorating. I will say this right here is where your door cable right here goes in. It's just like a little L shape that you just work into the hole. And my connectors for my door wiring, they are much further behind this door panel, and I wasn't able to disconnect them. But I need to take the micro switches off the switch anyways before I send them out. So there was one micro switch, I'll show you guys, right here that had a bracket that screwed onto the back side right there with a Phillips screw. So I just unscrewed that and left the micro switch clipped onto the bracket. You can see that silver clip right there. This is what's holding it to that bracket. And then this other micro switch right here, I took that same clip and I just took that off, and that micro switch was pinned on right here on the door handle. And the advantage of that also is I can't get them mixed up because this micro switch will only go on one way. If I were to take them both off and leave them here, then it could create a little bit of headache for myself getting everything reassembled and put back where it needs to be. So for now, I can just leave all that there. And you can see that's pretty normal. You're taking this stuff off, that sticky finish gets on the interior. That's what I'm saying, it gets on your hands. So once I get done with getting everything removed, I need to come back and very carefully get all that cleaned off and get all that evidence there. Door handle, door pull, they're removed. Now we got to do our mirror triangle, and this is pretty easy. It just pries out and it's clipped into the bottom of the door panel. So we're just going to pry from the top, unconnect the connector for the tweeter, and we should be set. And here's our mirror triangle or tweeter cover. You can see these 2 feet, they sit down in the door panel. This piece right here slides into that clip, and that's what retains it. And when you go back, put it back on, you got to keep this seal all the way around the outside of this bracket. Pretty straightforward, got that taken care of. Driver's door down, let's jump over to the passenger's door. Okay, so over here on this passenger door, it's going to be exactly the same except for this door pull, but they made it pretty easy for us. We have 2 4mm Allens right here we need to take off, and a 4mm Allen down here that we can take off, and that should let us get this door pull off. Then it's going to be the same to get the handle out and our mirror triangle off. Okay, so here's where we're at. We have the 2 4mm Allens out on the upper door pull. I removed the one down here at the bottom, but this bracket actually goes down and there's a Phillips down here that feeds into the door. So I had to remove this bezel, swing it out of the way to gain access to that, which meant I had to unbolt my door handle. Rather than having to bolt straight down like we did on the driver's side, we have this one right there. So we'll get this Phillips screw right here out, and I can remove this door pull with this bezel, and then we'll work on the door handle. The door pulls off. You can see that we're gonna have to unbolt both ends of this to get the leather separated from the pieces that are sticky, so we can get that sent out. But that's out of our way. Our bezel is out of our way. So now we're just left with this door handle and the mirror triangle, which is gonna be the exact same process as the other side. So I'll get these taken care of and I'll bring you guys back once we start working on our dash. For the dash, since we're over here, we're gonna start with these round vents. They just snap in. But rather than just pulling straight out, which it's hard to do because you don't have a good grip, I actually just kind of put my hand on the top and my thumb on the bottom, and I'm pulling down this way. I'm trying to pop just the top out, then I'll pull the entire vent out. So I'm just trying to like kind of rock it down and give it, see if I can get it right there. It started to pop right there. So it just popped out on the top. It's still in on the bottom, and now I can kind of lift the bottom out and pull straight. And it looks like our rubber boot on the back side came with it right here. We'll have to get that resorted on our vent on the inside. Not uncommon to have that happen. But there you go, dash vent's out. It's gonna be the same for the 3 centers and also the left vent on the driver's side over there. Now we also need to get these vents out right here, and if this is probably an area that if you're real nervous about leaving a mark or marking something up, you can put some tape right there because there's a tab that we need to push in on this plastic trim up underneath to help release it and pop it out. And we're gonna use a pocket screwdriver with this, so it's just something that you have to be very, very careful with to get this popped in. And I have it under that tab now. I'm pushing that tab, trying to push that tab. Push that tab in, there we go. And lift it up right there. So you can see right here is the tab that I'm talking about. It's hooked in on the other side, and that's how we get those popped out. Again, it's going to be the exact same on the other side of the car, on the left hand side. So I'm going to work to get the remaining center dash vents out, this other trim piece out on the other side, and then we'll start working on our center stack, climate control, radio, all those items right there in the center of the car. So with our 3 dash vents out, we can now focus our attention to the center stack right here. The first thing I'm going to address is getting our radio out, which does require special tools. Now we need to remove this side of the radio right here to get access to where the tools go. You can see the right side goes right there. So we'll just flip this Ferrari switch right here over and see that it pops open. And right there is where our tooling is going to go. And for the tools, you need the specific Becker tools here. See if I can grab them. So you need these guys right here, and these come, you can buy these off Amazon. They come in generic radio toolkits. They're not too tough to find, and they go in oriented like this, right in there like that, and this other side flips and goes in there like that. I'm gonna have to set you guys down, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the tools in, we're gonna capture the levers, and then we pry them out, which is on the back side gonna push the locks in, and we'll be able to slide the radio out. But obviously, I'm gonna need 2 hands to get this popped out. All right, so with it out, I left this tool in so you can see what we're actuating on right there. We're pulling those tabs in so we can slide the radio out. So now I'm gonna take the radio the rest of the way out, get everything disconnected, and we can start working on the rest of the stack. With the radio out, we're going to remove this 430 faceplate right there. It is a 2mm Allen with those 4 screws. That's going to reveal more screws that we need to take out, along with these 4mm Allens right here, which should allow us to remove this whole faceplate. So our faceplate's off. We'll get these 4mm Allens out. These lower ones off. Should be able to remove the entire unit. All right, and you can see we're gonna have to disconnect our window switches here on the back side so I can get that fully removed. And there we have it. So we will have to remove this from the back side. We're not gonna send this whole piece off, so we're gonna have to do some more disassembly once it's on the bench. But for now, we're gonna set this aside. So we're just gonna take out these 2 4mm Allens right here. There's also 2 more that are coming down from the top side that we're gonna have to get removed, and we can pull out our climate control panel. All right, all of our hardware is loose. We can slide that out, and we need to disconnect the connector there. Can I do it one-handed? Don't think so. Nope. All right, so we got it disconnected. Again, you can see we're gonna have to take this off of the silver trim here. We're not gonna be sending the whole thing in, but that's off and out. With our center stack out, it's actually a lot easier to work from the back side to get our glove box switch out. There's actually 2 springs that we need to compress and get released so we can pull it forward from the dash. So I'm gonna work on getting that taken care of, and then we'll take you guys on to the next steps. All right, so we're pretty well sorted on the dash on this side, so let's turn our attention to the dome light assembly. Now this is actually pretty straightforward. We'll use our pocket screwdriver once again to gently get in here and pop our light out just like that. So you can see our spring clips right there. And we'll disconnect that connector. And then we have 2 4mm bolts. Try to get you in there and show you. We'll get those removed. This assembly then will drop down. There'll be a few more connections we'll disconnect, and that'll be all. There's what's left of our connectors, and our dome light housing assembly, and our dome light itself. So our dash is taken care of on this side. We got our glove box switch out, so I think it's time to turn our attention here to the center. And this one's going to be a little bit different than most 430s, just simply because we're a gated manual and not an F1 car. So what we need to do is get the shift knob off, these 4 Phillips screws here to get the shift gate off out of the way. This riser is going to come off. And then down in our ashtray, we'll pull this out. If I can get it there. There's a Phillips screw right down there. We'll take that out. And then that should allow this assembly to come up and off, make or disconnect our connections here for our switches, and then we'll have this entire plate off and free to where we can get our switches separated from it. One more trick or tip that I wanted to share with you is there's a nut here on the bottom side that locks our shifter in position. It's a 17, you can use a wrench on it, but I find it's a bit cumbersome to get the wrench on there because there's not a lot of thickness to that nut. It's very shallow. So I actually just use a line wrench because it just grabs on there a lot better because it's kind of an awkward angle and it helps me crack it loose. I have less chances of my wrench slipping, damaging my shift knob, or marring up this nut down there. So I don't use a standard wrench, I use a line wrench on it to get that broken free. So we're gonna get that broken free, get our knob off, get these screws, the gate and riser off, and just keep cruising to get the rest of this interior out. So you can see everything's off and our screws off out here at the back, and that leaves us with this entire assembly that we can lift up. You can see that I'm kind of restricted now because of my electrical connections, so I need to get those disconnected. I will give you a tip if you've never done this before. Take pictures so you know which connector goes where. So you know that blue connector right there goes up to our hazard switch. The orange connector in the back goes to our park light switch. A lot of times you can get those mixed up, or when you're trying to go back together, you can't remember where the location of which switch was where. Some people may not really worry about that stuff very much, but I always like to get them back exactly where they were, and then it makes it a lot easier knowing which connector to plug into it, so that way, obviously all of our functions are correct. Just take a couple seconds to take some pictures, and I've actually found in the past that having those pictures, they help, yes, with the car that I'm currently working on and putting back together, but a lot of times if I'm working on other cars and I'm starting to wonder what is, like if someone else had been in another 430 and I'm diagnosing it and I'm like, is this the way it's supposed to be? Having that back catalog of pictures that I save of all the 430s that I work on and how everything's arranged, where the switches are, the wire colors, it really helps out and allows me to know, like, oh, wait a second, this person installed this wrong or backwards. And it's just a good reference point and makes it a lot easier because a lot of the times you don't see these cars very frequently and it's hard to have everything completely memorized. So I'll pop this off, disconnect our connections, and that's going to pretty much get our center console all taken care of for us. Everything's disconnected. You can see we're free and clear. Have all of our connectors down there. We're still going to have some disassembly to do to get our switches here off the back of this trim piece, but we'll take care of that with the rest of the stuff when everything's up on the bench. Okay, so over here, let's start talking with our mode switch. Now I mentioned earlier that this tab over here is broken off, and that's just a straight tab that kind of sticks out and kind of holds this back corner up into the dash. And this is the side right here. You can see it's kind of deformed and pushed back where it snaps in on the front. So you would take this, and if it's sitting in there flush, you would pry off the front and then pull it forward to slide it off. So that's how you'd get that removed. Then just disconnect your LED here and your connector. And for our switches right here, this row of switches, it's a lot like our dash vents on getting these out, where I'm gonna push down on the switch. I'm kind of pulling down and out, and I'm only trying to pop the top of the switch out right there. So you can see it's not sitting at the same angle as the other switches. And once I get that done, I can kind of lift here on the bottom and pull out and try to pop the bottom out and get the whole switch removed. So we'll do that. You can see we pop it out like so. And before we go and disconnect it, let's get these other switches popped out. Get this guy. Sometimes you can cheat if you need to and get in behind them. Give a little pressure. That one's stubborn. Get that popped out. That one's not too bad. And then we have our switch blank. You can just get in from the back side, pop that guy free. But much of like what I was talking about in the center console, once you get these switches out, you want to document the color of the connectors in relation to which switches. So I can see that this is how they were in order. So we have the fuel, the mirror heating, and the trunk release, and we have black, white, and orange. So that way, obviously I'm documenting it here with video, but document that with pictures, so that way when everything goes back together, you can be sure that they're the way they were from the factory. So I'm gonna work to get the rest of those removed real quick, and we'll continue on. Let's start talking about our steering column trim. Now, to get that off, we have 5 screws here from the bottom. So there's a one right here, right there, screw there, one right there, and one up here in the center. Now, some of these screws are actually holding the top trim to the bottom trim, and some of the other screws are holding the bottom trim to the steering column itself. So we need to remove all of them at once, and that should free up the lower trim so we can get that off. Then we can turn our focus to getting the upper trim off. You might need to adjust the steering column to get the position that you need to work this trim off, work it around the stocks, especially the upper one, but really it's not too bad. 5 screws, we should be there in a matter of no time. So I have the lower column trim off, but I'm fighting some of the hardware up here with the cluster for the upper trim, even though I have the steering column down as low as it can go. So there's some 4mm Allens. I'm going to pop the top of the binnacle off. Then I'm going to work to remove the instrument cluster itself, since we have to take that out anyways. It should free me up enough space to get this out without really spending a bunch of unnecessary time wrestling it. I'm just kind of changing the sequence of events since I'm here disassembling this stuff anyways. I might as well just make it easier on myself. So I'm gonna work to get the hardware out and see how much more progress that gives us. There we go. Instrument cluster is out. There was just a screw on either side, 4 screws total, and then some down here on the bottom on the sides. And then we had 2 screws coming up and in holding the binnacle top on, a couple clips on the back side. And once I was able to pop those out, it made getting the top of the steering column trim off no problem. So that pretty much wraps up everything here in the interior. So I think we're going to go to the bench and take a closer look at the components and talk about them just a little bit further. All right, guys, so I actually ended up running out of time last night, called it a night, so we're back out here again today, finishing off the sticky job. We almost got it done before the end of the day, but I simply ran out of time. The car is looking pretty bare. You can see that we have everything out of the car, looking pretty disassembled there. And there is one thing that I forgot to film that we took out, and that's our switches here for our rear cubby and also our convertible top. So I popped those switches out. You can reach in from the back side, you can pop those out. Then there's a false floor that sits right in there that you lift up, much like we did over here on the driver's door pull. And then there's this one Phillips screw right here, and that bezel comes out to get all that removed. So we got that taken care of. You can see here's that bezel I was talking about. Get that taken out. And you can see I have everything sitting up here. I've already pulled the leather off of the passenger door pull right here, so I can just send just these components. So everything's pretty much taken care of, but we still have more disassembly to do here on the bench. On our center dash vents, everything on these is hard plastic right here. So what I'll do is I pop just the outer rings off and just ship these out to get refinished on the outside perimeter. We need to pull our HVAC off of this plate here. Pretty straightforward, just some Phillips screws. We need to pull our window switches off of this plate right here, which again, pretty straightforward, just some small Allens. We'll get all that popped off. And you can see all the switches, everything's ready to go. Again, over here, same thing. We just gotta take this stuff off. It's all pretty simple once it's out of the car. Pop all those switches out of this back piece so we can send those off. And I've already done my VIN plate here that sits obviously the other way around, but sits right here in the upper steering column trim. And the easiest way to get that out is to drill a small hole. I just did 2 small holes right there. Drilled through. This is the back side, so you can see I didn't drill into the VIN plate at all. Once you drill those holes, you can take a pick or a screwdriver or just a small tool that fits in the hole. You can push up, and that's gonna allow this to lift up enough to where you can then pry underneath of it and get it off. It's just double-sided taped on. So I got that taken care of. These are ready to go out, and I need to just disassemble this bezel and stuff from the instrument cluster. Again, just some simple Phillips head screws. Get that stuff all taken apart, and then get everything inventoried, take pictures of it, get it wrapped up, get it boxed up, and get it sent out. So that's really what I'm gonna worry about today. One thing I will note is because there is a bit of a lead time and turnaround time with the sticky stuff, the car is gonna be in here sitting for a while. So before I send the switches off, I'm actually I'm gonna close the convertible top. I'm gonna roll the windows up because I have the switches. Then I'll take the switches back out. That way, when the car's sitting here waiting, it's closed up and it's sealed up. Then I'll take everything, get it packaged, and get it sent off, get it refinished. Once it's all back, it's all reassembly, plus we have to do a few things with like our Manatino faceplate, get that taken care of, get everything reinstalled back in the car. So I'm gonna get that taken care of today, and then I'm gonna see you guys back here once we have all the parts back from getting refinished, and we're working towards reassembling them into the car. All right, guys, welcome back, and you can see that we're back on our 430 to finish up the sticky job. Now, it's actually been a couple weeks. I had a vacation mixed in there. I ended up getting pretty sick, so I was down and out for a week, but that actually all played out pretty well because all of our parts were out at Sublet. There was a little bit of a turnaround time, so there really wasn't a lot we could do in the shop. Scheduling-wise, it worked out pretty good, but yesterday, all the parts finally showed back up so we can get back to the 430, get this interior reassembled. Now, I want to take a second and talk about services to have these items refinished. I kind of talked about it at the beginning of the video. There's a lot of people that go through and just wipe the sticky substance off of the switches and leave them in their raw finish in the car. I've seen some people take the stuff off or the sticky off and then paint the parts themselves. And there's also several different businesses that provide services to refinish these products. Now, I will tell you that if you talk to those different businesses, they have different methods on what they do, and there's different levels of effort that they go into to refinish those products. Some of them only remove the initial layer, which is sticky, and then they go through and put a matte finish over that. And a lot of the times you lose your screen graphics or they put stickers on, and it's just not the same quality as other vendors. So whenever I have a car with a sticky like this case in point, I actually talk with the client. I explain to them the different levels of services because there is different pricing that comes along with that on what level of work you're looking for. Fortunately, on this particular car, he wanted the best option that we could get, the nicest finish, the highest quality of craftsmanship, and the best repair there was. So for that, we took all of our parts right here, and we sent them to stickyrx to have them refinished. And I can tell you that, in my opinion, from all the different finishes I've seen from different vendors, this is the best finish that you can get for these parts. They take everything down to the base material, reapply our black coating or color if needed, and giving you that nice uniform matte look. And you can just see how nice and professional this looks. It looks fantastic even on the back side that you don't see. Very good finish, and it's not a soft touch like the factory finish. It has the same physical appearance, but it's very smooth. It feels very nice. And on these vent rings, this is a common one. A lot of people refinish these, and these arrows, you'll lose them when you do that, and they'll just put a sticker on there, which is, it just doesn't sit right with me. So these are all either laser engraved or screen printed on. Essentially better than factory because our finish isn't going to degrade, but all of this lettering on there, it's not a sticker. It is how it is meant to be from the factory. And you can see that everything just looks fantastic. I've got everything laid out, made sure I got all of my parts that I sent off with them. You can see that I also have a replacement Manatino faceplate because the one in the car is sticky there as well. All of our switches, climate control, radio knobs, everything. We got everything in the car taken care of on this one. So this is going to be fantastic because it's not going to be a problem down the road. So you can see I have all the other parts here laid out. There is a lot of reassembly I have to do. You can see I have the instrument cluster I need to put together, the lens, even the tack ring, all that. I need to reassemble my vents, install all my switches in our center console piece, climate control piece in here. So I have a lot of assembly and putting together to do to get this all back in the car. And you can see I got my whole bench all the way out. I think I'm gonna focus on getting all that taken care of. Not really gonna cover much of that here for you guys. It's gonna be the complete opposite of what we worked through to get everything removed. But I did wanna show you guys all of these parts real quick before we get them installed into the car. I have a lot of work ahead of me getting all this reassembled and installed carefully. We want to be sure we don't scratch or damage anything, and we get it all back together, fitting the way it was, functioning the way it's supposed to. So I'm going to take my time, focus on getting all of this reinstalled, and I'll bring you guys back so we can take a peek at the interior once it's finished up and see how it all looks. Once it's done, we'll see you guys back here in a couple minutes. So here we are. We have the interior fully back together. So we'll drop you guys in, and we can take a look at how this all came out. Absolutely beautiful work by stickyrx. Everything looks fantastic, and it has just the perfect matte sheen to it. Our logos look absolutely spot on. You can see we've even refinished that, our Ferrari logo, everything. Our arrows the way they need to be on our vents. You know, we got our steering column trim. That's all taken care of. It just looks so good. Our instrument cluster, look at the back. I mean, we are spot on over here, all of our switches. I'm trying to give you some light. Hopefully it's not washing everything out. There's without some light. But it looks so good. And this is one of those things that really, I don't think it translates very well on video or camera. Just how dramatic this difference is, how much of a difference it makes getting all this stuff refinished and having the proper finish. And I can't stress enough, when you really think about it, this is where you're sitting at, where you're driving the car. This is where you spend all of your time. So you're sitting here looking at these items. It's not just touching them, but you're looking at them. And if these switches are all gooey and sticky, or your logos are worn off, or they're shiny, it just really brings the level of quality or feel of the interior down so far that it really makes a big difference. Granted, if you're on a budget, yeah, I understand it's, you know, this is a big expense and a big repair to do. But if your car is fully mechanically sorted, I mean, this is almost more important than the exterior of your car, because you're not looking at the exterior of your car all the time. I mean, you're looking at it when it's in your garage or when you walk up to it, when you park it. But man, you spend more time here. And I've always been huge on making sure that the things that I'm touching in the car, steering wheel, making sure your shifter, e-brake handle, all these items are just exactly how I want it and spot on, because you would be surprised. Those make a bigger difference on the feel and quality of your driving experience than the other items. So this job turned out absolutely fantastic. stickyrx did an amazing job. Very happy and pleased with their work. And ironically, since we finished this car, we had that 458 up there show up, and I want to pop you guys in there and show you the difference, because that car is suffering from the same issue with sticky items and the deteriorating finish. And I want to show you the difference of what we have in that car as opposed to what we have here with this refinished 430. So let's head over there, jump in it real quick so I can show you. Okay, so we're in this 458. It's a 2013, and you can see that this is having, you know, the finish is deteriorating right here. You can see that our graphics for our VDA button is wearing off, where you can't really make out the V and the A. Things like our turn signal buttons, so these actually aren't sticky at all, but you can see how they're shiny and smooth plastic, which is such a different feel and appearance than what we have in the 430. And if we look at our window switches and our convertible top buttons, you can see that some of the finish is still there. It's sticky, but some of it's worn off to where they're shiny. And if we come back here, this whole piece is still completely sticky, so you can see stuff sticking to it. It's very gross to touch, but you can see that they're all in very different states. But like right there, you can see the difference of how shiny that looks, and the buttons and knobs where it just feels very cheap in my opinion. I wanted to seize the opportunity and show you those buttons inside that 458, because they are suffering from different things than what this 430 had. Pretty much all the buttons in here are just getting sticky and slimy. That one, they did the same thing, but some of those have been cleaned off, but you're also losing some of the logos and emblems. So just kind of giving you guys more information or showing you the different rate of deterioration that these suffer from. Now there's one more thing that I want to highlight and cover, and that is when I fly out and do remote PPIs on cars, one thing that the potential buyers always are pretty keen on is the sticky buttons, and they'll always ask the dealer or the seller, are any of the buttons sticky? And most of the time they'll get answers and they'll say, no, none of the buttons are sticky. And I can tell you that I fly out and look at these cars, and once I inspect the car, I have to tell them, like, well, the buttons aren't sticky. Case in point, some of those buttons in this 458, I go, but they don't have the finish on them. Yes, the buttons aren't sticky, but they don't have the right finish, which this is a subjective thing, but meaning the potential buyer was expecting that this car had buttons like this 430 because they've been refinished, where it actually has buttons like the steering wheel buttons on this 458 where they're really shiny plastic and the finish has been removed. So yes, the buttons are not sticky, but the buttons are not how they should be from the factory. And it's always kind of a big, takes the wind out of the sails when I have to tell them, well, if you're looking at buying this car, you're probably going to have to go through and address all of the sticky buttons. So it doesn't really matter if the finish has been fully removed from all the buttons. I mean, yes, they're not sticky anymore, but it's still not a factory level appearance, and it's not as good as it could be. And if it's a really particular buyer that wants a really nice high level car, they're going to have to go through the expense anyways, even though they're not sticky. So it is one thing to clarify when you're talking to somebody or a dealer about buying a car. It's not so much are the buttons sticky. Have the buttons been refinished? Also, equally as important, who refinished them? Not all surfaces are created equal. Not all finishes are created equal. A lot of lower quality finishes out there, they put stickers on them. We did it the right way. We used stickyrx. They gave us an outstanding product. The best in the industry, which this factory gated 2009 430 deserves. This is a very rare car, optioned very well. So we wanted to go out and do it right. So we got that taken care of, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Showed you guys how to get the cars apart, get the sticky addressed, gave you some more information. So I just wanted to thank you for watching the channel. I appreciate your support. For those of you that have joined the channel membership, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. You guys know the drill. Be sure to hit the like button, drop a comment below, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. As always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.